Right.
Have fun.
Okay.
Shut the door.
Right,
Thank you guys.
Should we just
so
come and
much.
knock on your door when we're done or something?
Yeah, I'll be kind of like
Yeah.
wandering around and be honest. Yeah, even if it's good feedback for me, where I can do better. All my school reports said that.
All right. Question one. Why did you go to Jo Abbott to investigate your symptoms?
Okay, so I met Jo during a fire service PTI course where she's explaining about the importance of hip alignment and how to test for it. At that time, I was suffering with herniated disc. It was quite bad, creating sciatica down the left leg. Jo had a look at these scans as I was trying to show people on the course. She walked past, and from that point on, she demonstrated most of the hip alignment stuff on me that day. And after that day, I'd say my pain had been reduced by 40 to 50% straight away, which was amazing because I'd seen doctors, physios, chiropractors for years, and none of them had really been able to take my pain down as far as she did within one session.
So I sought out Jo. So I had this kind of right hip sciatic problem which developed about a year and a half ago. I think really I followed the standard process that most people do. Obviously when you've got pain, it's a great motivator to make you do something about it. You have no choice, it's keeping you awake at night. So I did the standard thing of going to see a GP, which didn't really resolve it, following up through physios, and then through Rob heard about Jo, and I needed clearly the GP, the physios hadn't worked out, so I thought let's try this Jo person.
I met Jo through Rob and Chris both recommended her. Rob recommended her initially, but I was seeing other people and I was like, oh no, I'm working out. And then a year later, when I still hadn't fixed the issues that I had, and then Chris had been to Jo, and Chris turned around and said, look, you go and see Jo, she'll sort you out. And then I thought maybe I should listen to Rob a year previous because of all the money I'd spent. And then, yeah, that's how I met Jo. Yeah.
I went to Jo because she'd been recommended off my brothers. I injured my hip during sports activity, and that was the catalyst to go and see Jo to try and get it sorted.
Okay, question 2. What does Jo Abbott do differently to other manual therapists you've been to before regarding your symptoms? Right, so I think all of us in answering question 1 have called out that we've been to see physios and tried kind of general physios either through the NHS or privately. You can really characterise my experience with a physio as I would go in and say, I've got pain in my right leg. I'd hop up on the bed and they'd immediately set to work on my right leg doing their favourite kind of manipulation. That was with at least 3 different physios. Even one of them noticing that one leg was, the painful leg was shorter than the other, and he gave me a heel raise which caused all kinds of problems straight after, again jumping straight on the problem. And I think that's one of the first things I'd say about Jo that's completely different is, as you walk in through the doors, it doesn't matter what pain you're going to call out, Jo will take your history and everything, but the key thing is she's not biased by what you're telling her. She'll do a full assessment of your entire body before she zooms in on the area, and I think we've all had the experience where we've gone in saying, it's my right hip, but actually it's another part of your body, and through a system that's triggering that. So a big thing Jo does is she steps back and looks at the whole picture of what's going on with your body before just zooming in on the bit you're calling out the pain.
I would say with Jo, very similar. I've seen chiropractors, physiotherapists, and doctors and all sorts. And what I find is the chiropractors don't like the physios don't like the chiropractors. So you go and see a chiropractor, they'll say your bone's out, they'll push your bone back into place, do nothing about the muscle. Over a few weeks, the muscle will then pull the bone back into the bad position it was in. So you'd end up going back to see the chiropractor and he'd do it again. And with a physio, they wouldn't touch the bone that's out of place, but they'd manipulate the muscle so it relaxes. The spasm goes. Again, a couple of weeks later, because the bone's out of place, the spasm creates again, and it causes a kind of cycle of pain. Jo, I would say, is kind of, she encompasses all of those physio, chiro, and even the GP in a way. She'll find out what the problem is, and she'll work on everything as a more of a holistic approach, so that you're getting the muscle spasms released, you're getting the bones almost put back into place, and it's a one-stop shop really. And like I say, if you're talking money-wise, you're paying for one person rather than paying for several people that are just fixing the same issue again and again and again.
Yeah, so reiterate what Rob and Chris said. She encompasses everything, you know, manual therapy, dry needling, strengthening exercises, mobility work, all of it. It's a one-stop shop, like Rob said. But I find the big difference with Jo and other practitioners is A, she actually enjoys the job. B, she's not treating you as a cash cow. So actually the first time my bros referred me to Jo and I spoke to Jo over the phone, she initially said, well, hold on, you might not need to come in, tell me what the problem is over the phone, might be able to fix it for you there and then. So she's not there to make money out of you, she's there, and once you have a session with Jo, you've got that support she'll give you, you can contact her, and she won't bring you in just to make money. Sometimes you just see her once and see how you get on, and you can speak to her through the stage. And the big thing is the fact that she enjoys her job. It motivates you to follow the exercises, and you actually feel you have some investment. You know, not like, are they just stringing me along to make more money? And that's a big difference, I think, mentally as well, with whatever injury you're trying to deal with.
I'd agree with what Matt said there. Previously, when I'd gone to see physios about my hip, it was always talking about I had to come in for another session, which would be another 60 quid, and following that it'd be, you know, you have to keep coming in for these sessions. There was no, they never talked about you wouldn't have to come in. With Jo, it's quite clear that although you may have to follow in to see how the exercises go, you were building towards the end result, which was not having to come. So, as Matt said, you don't feel like it's you're purely there to it's a forever thing where you have to keep coming. It doesn't feel like that. And the second thing is that Jo's very, very comprehensive. You're not just a number. You come in and she'll look at you as an individual and your problem.
And it is probably worth adding that a big part of Jo's treatment, and Matt mentioned it a bit there, is that you're given your homework. You know, often you go and see a physio, it's a 1 hour session, and as Si says, you come back next week. With Jo, it can often be 2 months of, you know, quite a lot of exercises every day, but actually doing that homework makes you feel that you're in charge of your injury and recovering from it, and just mentally doing that, I've found, has reduced the pain straight away.
So question number 3. What's unique or different about the service you get when you go and see Jo Abbott?
So I'll start with
Again, what felt unique to me was how comprehensive Jo is, and the fact that she's clearly been trained and skilled in all the, not just one area, but in a number of areas. Like I remember on the first session, went in thinking I was just going to look at the hip, but looked at the whole body, had some acupuncture, which immediately released some tension in my shoulder, which was a link to my bad hip. So it's the fact that she's so knowledgeable in a number of different areas that she can look at you as a whole.
I think really, if you compare it to the various stages of when you have pain and you go and seek a solution to it, if you see a GP, GPs have possibly the hardest and kind of least forgiving job in the world. They have 5-minute slots, they have to follow a standard protocol. That GP is really not paying any attention to your individual situation. They're following the procedure and you walk out the door with some kind of painkiller. With a physio, maybe a little bit more paying attention to your individual body, but they'll focus in on the area. I think, as we've been saying with Jo, it's completely personalised. It's you know, Jo deploys different solutions. All 4 of us have had completely different treatments just from talking about it after we've had our sessions. It's all about Jo stepping back, looking at your overall situation, and she does things like, right at the beginning, stopping and saying, apart from kind of addressing any pain issue, what do you want to get out of this? And I'd never been asked that by a physio. They'd never stopped to say, is it so you can work? Is it so you can continue exercising and training? So Jo gets you to kind of define your goals, and then you work towards that.
Yeah, exactly what Chris and Si said. You're getting somebody who is passionate about their job, who has a whole umbrella of skills under them, but also her background. If you speak to Jo, she's been an engineer, she's got, before getting into physical body work, and then, you know, her anatomy knowledge and her biomechanic knowledge is, whether I'm using the right terms, is amazing. So you will not get any, if you go and see somebody, you will not get somebody with that amount of knowledge and practical knowledge. So she's not just an academic that doesn't put this into practice, she's doing this every day, she goes to a university every week and teaches people. You are basically getting the treatment that an Olympic athlete would get if they had an injury. The first time I came here, before I knew it, I had dots put over me, I was put against the wall, and photos taken, had the treatment, then photos taken afterwards, and the difference was amazing. You would have to go very far and pay a lot more money to find these treatments that you could get here.
And the comparisons Matt's just made there, they're real. Jo does treat top sports people. She supports the fire service. So
well, they're not really sportsmen, are they?
all muscle.
But they, and we're very lucky to have her. I'm sure she's helped many people out in the fire service, that's for sure. The only thing I can add to what, or say that's different to what these guys have said is, I noticed it the first time I met her, her approach to finding out your problem is like she's some kind of super detective. So she's like, what's hurting? Why is it hurting? And she says, does it happen at a particular time? And she's really trying to get as much information from you, relevant information, that she can then she'll have 5 minutes to herself pondering what the issue is, and then she'll go, all right, this might be it. And then she'll explain it to you and try it to you, and you just don't get that approach with anyone else I've seen, because A, they haven't got the time, or B, they're just concerned about their one bit of anatomy, whether it's the bone, the muscle, whereas Jo's got a whole holistic, all body kind of approach to it, and that seems to work, and it's brilliant.
Yeah, Jo's basically practicing science. You know, I've been to see physios where it's almost like they've got the crystals out and you're standing in a bowl of porridge facing east, and they're saying this will work for you. Jo will assess you, but she, you know, I think we've all been saying this, she won't jump to a conclusion. She'll say maybe it's this, and then she'll put you through a series of tests, and do you know what, sometimes she'll do those tests and she'll go, oh no, that disproves it, it can't be that, and then she'll try the next hypothesis.
I was just about to say, she's not gonna nail the problem straight away sometimes, but that's part of the approach, and the way in that she uses a detective kind of and tells you why she thinks this is happening, it gives you then the understanding of what's happening, not rather someone getting a book going, right, you've got knee pain there, do these exercises. It's you've got knee pain there, that's happening because when you're running you're doing something with your hip, so we need to do something with that. And then when you go away with your exercises, you actually believe in them working, or you can understand what they're doing, so that makes you want to carry on doing the exercises. And then a few weeks later you might get in contact with her again and she'll adjust it because you've moved on a stage, or that's kind of getting fixed, but we'll have a look at the other problem that could be added to it. So it's very fluid as well.
And let's not forget the big report you get after your assessment. You get a report explaining everything, so when you go away you think, what did she actually mean? And then you read it and you're like, oh, it's all there. You don't get that with anybody else.
And you know, another thought on what's different about Jo and the treatment you get is, there's the really simple one, is it works. So the reason we're kind of here making this video is we've all benefited and had our pain reduced or eliminated through the treatment that Jo's given us. I've not had that from physios.
Which has enabled a couple of older brothers and young brothers to carry on doing what we want to do, because we all enjoy our pastimes, and
lying in the couch.
You know, a lot of some of the doctors have just said you can't do that anymore.
Yes,
you're not at that stage. You know, you've got to take things easy, and why should you take things easy? And with Jo, we're going to get you fixed to where you want to go, and you'll be back doing it, and that's the case.
What have you learned about yourself and self-management of your body since working with Jo Abbott? What shall I answer that? Yeah. So before I saw Jo, I've spent years trying to self-fix myself, mobility WOD online, you know, yoga every day, probably overdoing everything trying to fix myself, but I was attacking the wrong thing. So I was going, there's the pain, right, I'm going to self-myofascicular release on a ball every hour. My wife was getting ridiculous, couldn't the amount of tools I've got at home, my wife was getting so annoyed with me, rolling on balls, on things. And then you come here and then you realise actually it's good to be trying to fix it yourself, but you really do need to see somebody who knows what they're talking about, so you're attacking the right thing. I've wasted hours, days, rolling on the wrong muscle, massaging the wrong muscle, doing the wrong physio exercises, because I've tried to do it all myself without seeing Jo. And once you see Jo, you actually realise it's good to try and fix things yourself, but now I will always go and see somebody, Jo, before I take over ownership of that injury and try and fix it. And now when things come back, Jo's shown me how to fix it, so I'm sorted now. I can go and do it.
What you have as well, she's almost teaching you how to do self-medicate, if you like. So she's not just saying do this and that'll make it better. She'll be saying if you do this, that will do that because it's connected to this and that. And you think, oh right, yeah. So if you have a little reoccurrence sometime, you can think, well, hang on a minute, I know roughly. You're learning all the time from her. She's almost teaching you how to fix yourself.
I've learned. I was under the impression, very naively, before going to see Jo, that when you went to see someone to sort out an ankle pain, it would just involve like a sports massage, and that over time would fix the problem. I didn't realise that actually you would have to take some responsibility yourself and do exercises to build up the weaker muscles or whatever it may be, and of course you do, because we're a complex number of bones and muscles, and it's nothing's an easy fix. So from Jo, I've learnt that you have to take the bull by the horns, and you have to do what she said and stick to exercises. And I've rambled a bit.
No, and like Si says, I mean, there's things where I've walked out of Jo and gone, what? Your pelvis is in two halves and it moves. You learn basic things about your body that you can then protect yourself in the future and avoid getting into injuries. And on the self-management thing, obviously the internet and YouTube's an amazing tool, but if you go and Google your injury, how do you even know what injury you should be Googling?
It always tells you it's got something worse as well.
Yeah.
You get in a right old mental
But then
state.
even if you identify what it is and you go onto YouTube, you're going to be getting 5 minutes of advice from 25 different people. It'll be completely inconsistent. So, you know, at the very least, seek out one person and get their whole view. Because I think we've all done the thing, like Matt was saying, where you go on YouTube and go, oh, that looks good, rolling that ball. And then you see the next one down is saying, no, don't roll a ball, do this.
That's the worst thing you could do for it. You think, oh, well, I'll stop doing that now and I'll do something else. I bought bath salts the other day to try and help something, and you know, just suck for spending money on things. But the other thing we haven't talked about is what Jo's got. Is she when you go and see Jo, she'll set up a little computer website-y thing you can log on to. You have your own login, and she'll put the exercises on there. And there's a little, you just counter. I've done 3 of those. I've done 2 of those. So it's easy to manage and keep on date of what you've done. And if you have a phone call and say, well, this is working out, she'll update the exercises. You only have to go and see her.
Yeah. Well, if you decide to come and see Jo, you have to be committed. She's committed to every person who comes to see her, but you have to be committed yourself to keep up with the work that she's putting forward to fix your problem. So that's an important thing to take away.
But it's not like I've had from physios where it's a sheet and you just
Oh
do the exercises,
no,
because
absolutely not.
you're actually involved in this, the way she talks to you and the way she explains things, and that makes you want to do the exercise because you know they're starting to work. You feel them start to work straight away, so you've got a lot more confidence in her. And they're not, you know, the exercise I've had, they're not do this 3 times every hour, blah blah. They're not as much as you'd think, or I have had from other physios.
And you know, another learning from Jo and doing these exercises is kind of reaching for the painkillers as the only solution and thinking, I'll take the painkillers for the 2 weeks, or oh, I can take naproxen, it won't give me the ibuprofen gut stuff, I'll take that for a month and then that'll fix me in the background. I think that's rubbish now, because basically once you start doing the exercises, your body starts recovering and the pain does seem to diminish, and whether that's the psychological component of taking control of the pain, but it really does work.
And sometimes, if you just take the drugs, your body will adapt, and you'll think, oh yeah, it feels better, but what you've actually stopped using the arm as you did before, and you'll end up with a pain over here 6 weeks later, and you think, well, why am I hurting on this side now? It's because you've been hunched up all the time. So, 2 more questions? Go back to Si.
Okay. Would you recommend Jo Abbott to others?
Yes, and I have.
Do you get commission?
No. Oh well.
Yeah, so obviously, yeah, I would strongly recommend Jo, but it comes with a condition. There is no point going to see Jo if your attitude to correcting the pain or the problem in your body is someone else is going to come in and fix this for me. What Jo's going to do is she's going to identify your problem very, very precisely and then give you the tools to fix it. If you're not prepared to follow those exercises, if you're not prepared to listen and take the advice, I wouldn't recommend Jo.
Yes, unreservedly recommend Jo. Wouldn't be doing this video otherwise. This is I was gonna write a letter to recommend her, but we're doing this video because we're so pleased with her treatments.
I just mirror what my brothers say.
What else would you like Jo Abbott to offer patients as part of the service?
Chocolate biscuit with a cup of tea. Do you know, I thought about this, and I'm scratching my head really, because she's already offering so much more than I've had from previous physios, chiros, doctors. So I'm completely.
I think it's good VFM, value for money, isn't it? Because all the stuff you get afterwards and the reduced amount you have to go.
Yeah.
See, I don't know what else she could offer.
There's almost an argument that if Jo provided more support, it would take away from the fact that you have to become responsible for it and manage it yourself. I mean, one thing would be, if you think about our goals, maybe with Rob and Matt, it's more about being able to do your physical jobs as a key goal. But for me, the goal, I sit at a desk, so it doesn't matter what state I'm in really. But I like to be able to exercise, do stuff with my kids. With that goal, you could imagine with Jo, one potential thing would be, okay, so what actual exercises are you doing in the gym and how does that work? But having said that, I mean, Jo actually took my squat apart and identified places where I was going wrong, where my brace was unlocking my spine, so actually she does that already, so ignore that point. Anything else?
I wouldn't have anything to add at all until you just mentioned that. Possibly, I don't know, some because I'm desk bound, unfortunately, like Chris, is possibly some sort of recommendation on how you should sit at work, what sort of seat you should sit on, where your laptop should be elevated. Because basically, I'm trying to do that stuff off the laptop, off a computer to see how I should sit. Maybe that's an extra, just as a takeaway. But nothing really. It's a great service.
We've and to be super clear, a big thing with the Jo Abbott approach of treatment is it may be on the face of it slightly more expensive for one session with Jo than with a physio, but you only need one session with Jo and 2 months self-exercise and then possibly a return to Jo, as opposed to every week burning the cash with a physio and getting no results
as well.
Yeah.
For free, all that support for free. You pay for what you get. And she's not extortionate, but it works. And I find physio, and that was kind of, once you've been once, you know you're going back there in 6 weeks or to try and relieve that pain again.
Cool. Done. Thanks, Jo. Cheers, Jo. Well, we're amazing, Jo.